Yep,
So
absolutely. They were paid for their labor. And if you're nerdy like me and you read books about how to play the tax game, there's some really cool things that you can do. So you can hire your kids in your business and you can pay them a reasonable wage. It's up to, like, every year it changes, but I think we're up to like $16,000 or something this year, that you can pay your kid tax free. So essentially, the income that comes into the business, you can shift to your child for the work that they've done and not have to pay taxes on that income at all. And times that by 5 for me. Right?
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you're in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is
Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today on Building Scale, we're joined by Camilla Jeffs. Camilla is the owner of KohlerHaus Remodeling Co., a high-end remodeling company servicing the Tampa Bay area. Her team specializes in transforming luxury condo interiors while simplifying the construction experience for busy homeowners. Camilla has been in the trenches herself, building and scaling a construction business and learning firsthand just how messy growth can get. In addition to running KohlerHaus, she serves as a consultant with Cultivate Advisors, helping contractors and trade business owners grow, scale, and get out of the daily chaos of running their companies. She's passionate about building businesses that create both great client experiences and even better lives for the people running them. And with all that said, Camilla, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. When we did our planning call, we went all over the place into less things that were even the construction that you're doing today and more just the past, where you came from, start from the bottom. Now you're here, how you managed a family as well as many businesses and all that fun stuff as a serial entrepreneur. So yeah, give us the background for the listeners. What's your origin story and how did you eventually get into the space?
So when I was young, dumb, and broke, I love
being young, dumb, and broke. I wish I was a little younger still, but we'll go with that.
So my husband and I, we were living in someone's old converted garage apartment, and it was not nice, but it was all we could afford at the time. And as we were living there, the landlady came around to collect rent, and I knew she had several rentals in the area, and I just kind of asked her, I said, "Hey, how do you know about rentals? How do you have so many rentals?" And she said, "Well, you know what you should do? You should buy a house." And I was like, no, lady, you don't understand. We're living in your garage apartment. We have no money. How are we supposed to buy a house?
I love that. I'm living in your garage apartment and you want me to buy a house. Like that is are you know who you're talking to right now? Kind of a feeling.
Well, and at first I was suspicious because she's a realtor as well. So I'm like, you're just trying to make money or something, make money off people who don't even have money. But no, she was actually really kind. And she said, no, this is what you do. You buy a house that has a basement apartment in it, and then you rent out that basement apartment. And I was like, sounds a little far-fetched, but I'll think about it. Well, fast forward, that's exactly what we did. We went from living in a nasty garage apartment to a 6-bedroom home that had the basement, had 3 bedrooms in it with a kitchen. And so we rented out the basement, and it had a pool in the backyard. It was we were luxury living. It really wasn't that like a luxury house, but it felt like it to us. And that's what I was like, there's really something to this real estate thing. Let me try and learn more. And so then we launched upon a strategy where you'd buy a fixer-upper and we'd move into it so you could get the best financing, fix it up, and then, live there for 2 years and then either move out and rent it or sell it. So you don't have to pay capital gains tax. And so we started doing that. And that's when we started doing like construction type things because we were, again, still broke. So we're trying to figure out how to do things ourselves. I started going to I bought the big book, the Home Depot book, like How to Renovate Your House book, because this was before YouTube. Yeah, I'm not that old, but it feels like old when I say that. And so read the book, would attend classes on how to tile. My husband would tried to figure out plumbing and electric. That was an adventure, but we did that. So for the next 10 years, we would buy a new house every 2 years, move into it. It was just trashed. We would fix it up nice for someone else. And then we'd move out and live in a dump again. But over the course of that time, started learning a lot of really good skills. And that's where I started really, getting a feel for construction and renovating homes essentially. And so we started renovating a lot of homes. And then eventually I was ready to do it for other people. And then so I actually bought a construction company. So I bought KohlerHaus Remodeling Co. It's located in Tampa, Florida, and started, took over and started scaling and growing. And that's been a roller coaster as well. Like everything in life is a roller coaster, I feel like.
So you learned essentially the skills through you having to do it for yourself, and then real estate moving to house, which also I applaud you to just say, we're going to build the house and then we're going to, give that to somebody else and we're going to go live in a dump again and repeat and repeat and repeat. You just love living in construction is a little bit of what I'm thinking.
I mean,
is it calming
it was
for
fine. It was fine for a while, but I will admit our latest home that we bought here in Texas was a brand new home. And my husband was not super thrilled about that. He wanted another fixer-upper because he loves projects and doing that. But I was like, I just need a nice space. Can I have a nice space for once? So we have a nice house now.
Then you can tinker in the backyard, do all the landscaping, all that kind of stuff.
He can build me a chicken coop. He can build me a goat barn, all of those things.
Awesome. So why choose to buy instead of build the business? What was why the choice?
Oh, the construction company?
Yeah.
Building a construction company, right? That your reputation is everything. And so it's very, very slow. Yeah, right. If people don't know who you are, if you're a brand new, remodeling company or builder or anything, it's going to take 10 years before you really can get any momentum because you have to do projects. You have to get people to trust you in the beginning. And so for me, I thought through all of the, startup, the cost of a startup versus the cost of acquisition. And it made a lot of sense for me to acquire a company that was already 15 years in the business. So they'd already done all the hard work of the bootstrapping of getting the reputation up there, getting a bunch of clients. And so it came with clients, it came with employees, it came with work trucks, it came with tools. And really it was just a matter of stepping in and then figuring out how to scale it because it was an owner operator business, which a lot of construction companies are. And so it was just a matter of, it just made a lot more sense to buy rather than build.
How do you find the construction company to buy?
Yeah. So you can find companies to buy in multiple ways. You can go online. There's websites, Biz Buy Sell is one of them. And you can look for companies to buy. You can also network with business brokers and you can just network with local companies, right? If you find owners, you can talk to them and they might be willing to sell to you. But for mine specifically, I found it through a business broker. And so she's someone that I had networked with for several years. And then I just kind of mentioned that I'm, looking to buy. And it wasn't necessarily a home remodeling company. It was something that was some kind of business that touched real estate in some way because that's what I knew and that's my background. And so I was looking at landscaping companies, at drywall companies or windows or roofing or all of those different ones that you could do. And then she called me and said, "Hey, I've got this one. It was started by a woman. She's been building it for 15 years. She's ready to retire. And so she's looking for someone to take over her business." And so that sounds interesting. So I took a look at it and worked through all the acquisitions. There were a lot of hiccups along the way, but but it made a lot of sense. The only thing that was like tricky for me was that I live in Dallas and the opportunity was in Tampa, Florida. And so I was like, okay, so how are we going to work this out? And at first I thought, oh, well, we'll just move to Tampa because we move a lot. Obviously, we move a lot, like nomads. But then after we bought the business, we were, my husband and I talking about it, and it just never felt right to move to Tampa. So I had to build the business in a different way, right? Because I could not just drop everything and run to a house or drop things and run and pick up the tile that didn't get picked up, or, all of those things. So I had to be more intentional about how I built the business.
Okay. So then how did that work?
What is that intentionality? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the intentionality.
Well, one of the things that you have to do if you're going to buy a business is you really need to understand your own strengths. Like, what are you good at? And make sure you're buying a business that needs your strengths, right? It's not just about buying one that has a lot of revenue or has a ton of things. Like, you need to find that it's more about what does that one need? And so my strengths are in finance, in operations, and in technology. So as I looked at the business, it had pretty good operations. However, the owner was doing all the operations, right? And so she didn't have a system for estimating. It was just all in her head. She couldn't tell me how she knew that the drywall was going to cost $4,000 right? And so there are things like that. I was like, well, okay, we can't have this stuff in your head. So I'm really good at building processes and procedures. And so that's what I really focused on, was building processes that somebody else could just simply follow instead of relying on them to have the knowledge or do the knowledge, right? It's much easier to do a job if you have an actual checklist and you just check, done. And so that's what I really was intentional about, was building out those processes. And then the whole hiring process, right? So since my owner was the operator, she did everything. She was the GC, she was the estimator, she was the project manager. She wore all those hats. Well, I had to hire 3 different people to replace her because, feasible for one person to do all of those things, especially since it was doing $1 million in revenue and my goal was to get it to 10 million. Well, $1 million company looks very different than a $10 million company. And so there was no way we could rely on one person to do all 3 of those jobs. So I had to split that into 3 different jobs, had to put together and learn to delegate, right? And then the other how was I do have a partner in that business, and she's my boots on the ground. So I'm the introvert behind the computer that likes to just do the computer stuff. And she's the extrovert that likes to go to the networking meetings and meet new people and build relationships and all of that. And so that worked out really well for us too.
So you said you've got a business partner?
Yes.
In all of this. Most people, when they think about starting or buying a business, don't necessarily think about partnership, yet it could be the magic that makes everything work. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to partner?
Well, so in one way, I was forced to partner because I live in Dallas, and the SBA did not want me to live in Dallas. And so they needed someone who was boots on the ground, that also signed on the loan and was a full partner. So there's a little bit of a force there. However, this woman, I've known her for 4 or 5 years. So she and I were in an accountability group. So it was called Aspiring Women Achieving More is what it was called, AWAM. And it was an accountability group of women who were doing really big things. Like there were some women in there who were building, and a lot of it was like construction or real estate related. So we would get together every single Friday and we would kind of hold each other accountable to doing these big things. It was also a safe space for us to talk numbers, to talk challenges, to because, I can't really go to the local, mom group and talk to them about my $2 million company, right? It's just not the right space for it. And so we created a space for women who were doing amazing things. And so she and I kind of watched each other, cheered for each other, saw how each other worked and operated for 4 years. So it was really easy for me to pick up the phone. She just happened to live in Tampa and say, hey, I need a partner. And it was really easy for her to say yes as well, since we've known each other for a long time. And I believe in the power of partnership. Partnership can be gets a bad rap, like it can be rough, but also it can be amazing. And I've just found our partnership to be amazing because we are transparent, we are open, we communicate a lot, and we just like really support each other in what's happening, even through the challenges that we've experienced. We've just kind of been there for each other, and so the partnership has been amazing.
Can I ask? Because I'm curious, how often do you actually communicate with your partner?
We have a standing one-on-one every week. So every Tuesday morning, we have a standing one-on-one that's an hour or two. And then we communicate via text, phone calls, or whatever, probably daily.
So you said transparency is one of those kind of key places. Mm-hmm. But obviously, I have an opinion, and maybe I'm wrong. There is such a thing as over-communication, especially when you're trying to, let's say, delegate things. So what do you consider, where does the line sort of get drawn between transparency and over-communication? Is there such a thing?
I don't believe in over-communication. Now, I think maybe you're like toying with the line of micromanagement, right? I don't like micromanaging people, but I believe that more communication is better than less. And that's how we've built our company too, right? When we decided to be GCs, we've heard horrible stories from people about GCs taking advantage of them, like the GCs ghosting them, like all sorts of horrible stories. And we're like, the bar is not very high for us to stand out. So we built our company based on 3 values. So one is integrity. So do what we're going to say and say what we're going to do. And then 2 is communication. So we have excessive communications, different ways we communicate with clients within our own people. And then the 3rd is quality. We want to deliver a very high quality product, and we don't accept, we don't cut corners in what we deliver. So those 3 things, because we really wanted to focus on the client experience. So we even had a whole session with the entire team where we mapped out the client experience from the first time that they hear of us to all the way through getting an estimate, the project, and then close out at the end. We're like, well, what would be a premium experience for clients? Now, keeping in mind that every construction project is stressful. There's no way we can do any construction project and have it not be stressful for a client. It's just stressful, especially if they decide to stay and live there, right? Like it just is. But what can we do to reduce that stress, to make it easier on the clients? What can we do to do it? And so it's little things. Like one of my employees, she carries dog treats in her pack, in her pocket. And if a client has a dog, she makes friends with their dog, and she is absolutely their best friend. So the dog is excited every time she comes to the house, and so it's just little touches like that. We had a client that had a baby in the middle of the renovation. And so we got her a baby gift, and we made sure to do extra dust control to make sure that things didn't, the baby was taken care of. So just things like that we really tried to set out to be different.
That's interesting. Us at Spot, we are designing a whole baby line. That is a little bit what it feels like. So we're very similar to what a lot of people are having babies, and we're like, we can send the generic thing, or we can send something really personalized. Yeah, no. So we're very, very similar mindset there. In the dog thing, that's just smart. Make friends with the dog. That's like that. If you win over a dog, you essentially win over the whole house. So it's
that's right. I'll tell you one other thing that we've done is when we are starting a project, we will send letters to the neighbors. So 10 to 20 letters to the immediate neighbors, just letting them know, hey, we're in the area. We're starting a project here. We're so sorry if the noise is a lot or if there's extra dust. And we give them a car wash coupon, just something little to hey, here's a free car wash on us. Please call us if you have any issues, and, we're happy to address them. And so do we get calls? Yeah, we do, but we're happy to take those calls. We're not mad about it because the neighbors are always frustrated by so many trucks being parked on the road, and we get it. Like, it's an inconvenience. And so it's just one of those other extra touches that we do.
Makes it a little less
full
frustrating.
Confidence just based upon those three things that you're going to way surpass your $10 million goal. So which sounds crazy. Like that, those sound like three very little things, but those little things are the things that show such a difference in client experience, which if you get the client experience right, that's really where the magic is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take it back a bit. So how did you learn sort of the flipping of houses, right? Going every 2 years? Because you learned, obviously, going through your Home Depot book, how to do the renovations.
Do you still have that book, by the way? You still have it somewhere?
Yeah,
okay,
we do.
That's
it's out
awesome.
in the garage.
That's awesome. But I imagine that the financial aspects or the running the business aspects, those were not taught, at least not in necessarily a formal institution, or were they?
Well, so yes and no. So I do have my MBA. So I did get my MBA. I got it later in life. Like, I got it when I was 36 is when I started the MBA program, graduated when I was 38. And so I did go through that. However, it doesn't really, an MBA doesn't teach you how to run a small business. They're very focused on giant businesses. So if you do finance, you learn how to run a really huge business. It's not geared towards small business. So I am a voracious reader, and I probably get a little too focused on a topic, and I will just deep dive into things to learn. I also took a class called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses course. Yeah. And that was like a 6-month course, which was fantastic. And that one was absolutely geared towards small business owners. So all of us in there were small business owners. You already had to have a business before you can join that group. So that was really great. But then also, I kind of had like practice, I call them practice companies. So I had, my first entrepreneur company was a music education. So I had like 45 clients that I was teaching. I did like summer camps, and I had employees and did big recitals. And so that was like a small business that I learned to manage the money just on a very small scale. And then, graduated to my property management business. So, managing all of the rentals that we had. So I had that business, and then moved on to an investment education business, which was a little bit bigger, where I, taught people how to invest in apartment complexes, to invest outside of the stock market. And so then, when I jumped into this, the construction company, I had a pretty good base of what I needed to know and needed to do. But also, I've read a ton of books. There's some really great books on how to run small businesses and the things that you can do to scale and grow and all of that.
Do you know any of those books recommendations off the top of your head?
Yes, there's a great one. Let's see, I've got my thing over here. 10X is easier than 2X. That's a good one.
I love that one.
The Pumpkin Plan. Really love the Pumpkin Plan. That one's great. Walker Dybel wrote Buy Then Build. That one really helped me with the acquisition. So like, if the first part of the book is how to acquire a company, and the second part of the book is how to build that company after you've acquired it. And then there's the finance one that Mike Michalowicz wrote too.
Profit First, I think, or something like
Profit
that.
First. There you go. Profit First. That's a very good finance book. There's even one that's Profit First for contractors.
I've got it right here behind me.
Perfect. Yeah, I have it here too somewhere. Oh, there it is. I see it. Profit First. Yeah.
So go ahead, Justin.
So obviously entrepreneurship, all this happening, but you also have a family. So
I do.
Where does the balance of family, entrepreneurship, and also moving a house every 2 years is also a challenge in how you started building this small empire that you've created?
Yeah. So I actually have 5 children, and yes, I did birth them all myself.
Congratulations. Also, Mother's Day was this past weekend. Happy Mother's Day.
That's right. Thank you so much.
5X of that.
Yeah. So I had 5 children, and I had them all within an 8-year time span. So just pumped them out, right?
Yeah,
I did have twins in there, so I cheated. But
okay, all right. Yeah, I was about to say efficiency. Twins are efficiency gain, in my opinion.
That's right. That's right. But when the kids were little, I had my music education business and my property management business at the same time. But also, like, I needed to have those businesses because I could not afford childcare for 5 kids, and in any job that I could have taken. And so I was the stay-home parent, and got to, just kind of take my kids along for the ride. So all 5 of them were involved in the music education business in some shape or form. I mean, they were students as well as, helping mom, color the things for the camps and set up the water and all the things. And then in the property management business, I just kind of hauled them along with me, and they actually loved going because they liked to help mom paint the walls. And I mean, they weren't very good at it. So sometimes I would give them like pretend paintbrushes that they would just dip in water, or something like, yeah, you do this part over here. But really just kind of bringing them along with me. There were several times that it was super inconvenient, and difficult to bring the kids. But at the same time, they all learned to work and to work hard. And as they got older, as they got into their teenage years, then we were at the point where they could actually really contribute to flipping the houses or to, doing the remodeling, the renovations. And that was awesome because then we could get things done a lot faster. Yeah. So all the kids know how to tile, they know how to hang drywall and do baseboards. And it's funny because there was a point where one of my daughters came home and she's like, Mom, my friends don't even know what a baseboard is. It's like, well, they probably have never talked about it before. And that was funny. Now, don't get me wrong though. Like, I have 5 teenagers. Not all 5 of them were super happy to be working hard at these properties. They were very normal teenagers that we had to like motivate and be like, listen, you got to work, like get out, put your phone down, like, come on, let's go. We got to get this done. But I think that, they now like look back on it and they'll tell me, they're like, that was really cool, Mom, that we did that, even though they were grumpy about it 75% of the time.
There's nothing wrong with child labor. Just saying.
It's good for them. It's healthy.
I'm curious. Did they get any incentive? We'll call it allowance or otherwise.
Yep, absolutely. They were paid for their labor. And if you're nerdy like me and you read books about how to play the tax game, there's some really cool things that you can do. So you can hire your kids in your business and you can pay them a reasonable wage. It's up to, like, every year it changes. I think we're up to like $16,000 or something this year, that you can pay your kid tax free. So essentially the income that comes into the business, you can shift to your child for the work that they've done and not have to pay taxes on that income at all. And times that by 5 for me, right? That's a chunk of change.
That's
right?
why you have 5, because you just get the tax is really the trick here.
Yeah. But I'll tell you a good story. So one of the houses that we did and flipped, we did very well on. So we made over $100,000. So we shifted the income to the kids, and that equaled about $60,000 at the time. So it was about $12,000 a kid. And then we told the kids that, cause they worked hard on this renovation. They absolutely did. We had to rip up like hardwood floors and all the things. So we told the kids, we said, okay, you're getting $12,000, which is a lot of money for kids.
For kids, that's a huge amount of money.
So we told them, we said, okay, $2,000 of that is for you to spend however you want. My son bought himself a nice mountain bike. My daughter bought makeup, like whatever. And then the other $10,000, we are going to invest together as a family. So we're going to go find investment property and invest it together. And so we went shopping and we decided to buy a cabin in the woods that we could both use as a family and rent out, like Airbnb it. And so that's what we did. We went and we bought a cabin. The kids each put in $10,000 into this investment, and we still have that in that cabin today. And it is generating income. So it's not only, so it's generating income. So they're getting some passive income right now, and it's growing in equity. So they're $10,000. I think it's the last time I calculated, it's up to $17,000 now. So they have increased their equity in this property as well. And so the kids are learning about investing and learning that their hard work pays off.
That is awesome. I love that too. That sounds awesome. So that's an awesome flip. And there's some great learning lessons, but sometimes the best learning lessons come from pain. So, and it's really unfortunate. However, do you have any stories around learning lessons kind of early on and stuff that you probably had to do, or change because of it? What are some early learning lessons that you had to learn as you were growing and learning to essentially run business and stuff like that?
Well, I'll tell you about one for KohlerHaus, so the construction company. So we took over and expanded, and we doubled revenue in a year.
That's amazing.
And we were so proud, right? We were so proud.
Oh yeah.
Like, yes, look at us go. And then we realized there's some things that are broke. We don't have the right processes for some things, and we didn't have the right people for other things. And so one of the painful moments that we went through was hurricanes. So 2 hurricanes hit back to back in Tampa within 2 weeks of each other and caused a lot of devastation, a lot of flooding, a lot of homes got flooded. And so there was a need for companies to fix these homes that got flooded. Now, that's not our normal client base. Our normal client base is luxury condos is what we do. But for these clients, we made a decision internally that, hey, we're in this community. We need to help our community. So we decided to take on some flood jobs, and we knew we wouldn't make a ton of money on them. We knew that they might be difficult, but we decided that we wanted to help out. So turns out they were 100 times more difficult than what we anticipated. And one of the reasons why is because we had to work with insurance companies, and we'd never done that before. And also the clients themselves, this is a traumatic event in their lives. Like, they had not been saving up their money for a beautiful new remodel. They were not excited to remodel their house. Like, it was just all very devastating. And then the insurance companies were very nitpicky, right? So if a house floods, this is what we learned. So now you guys will all know. If the house floods and it's like 6 inches of water that comes in, maybe it's a foot, right? The insurance company will cover the floor that it touched, the drywall that it touched, and the base cabinets that it damaged. But they won't cover the countertops that were on those base cabinets. They won't cover new upper cabinets to match the lowers because, the upper ones didn't get damaged. They won't cover painting for the entire house. They'll just cover the portion of paint where the drywall had to be replaced. And so we just ran into all of these issues. And if anybody's tried to save a countertop and put in new bases, that's almost impossible. So then these poor clients, they had to come up with extra money, right? And then there was just a lot of turmoil and stress, and then working with the permitting department as well. So because Tampa and Florida in general experiences a lot of hurricanes, they're trying to, insurance are going up so high because these houses get flooded over and over and over again. And so there's specific areas. So the city started saying, okay, it's time that we have to take action. And I understand why they feel like they need to take action, because there's certain areas that literally get flooded every single time and have damage. And so they came in, they said, okay, this area, we are not going to allow to just remodel. You're either going to have to wipe it off all the way and rebuild the house that's higher, or you have to raise the house higher before you can remodel. So we were literally in the middle of fixing one of them when we got a stop work order saying, oh, this house is not allowed to be fixed. And these poor clients were in their 80s. They had lived there their entire lives, and they just didn't know what to do, and we didn't know what to do. So there was all this like back and forth with the city trying to figure it out. And just, so we took on 4 or 5 of these flood jobs, hoping we could just go in, renovate them and be done. But trying to match things and piecemeal things is very, very difficult. And I'm sure the listeners who own construction companies will know what I'm talking about. Because it's so much easier to come in and rip everything out, put something new. It's just a lot more efficient. But we were trying to piecemeal everything, which was difficult. And like the doors, like it was a lot. And what happened to us was it really stretched our resources and made me really, we learned that we didn't have enough resources to do these jobs, because meanwhile, we still had like 10 other clients of our normal clients that needed jobs done. And so we came into like a resource crunch. So we did not have enough people to get the jobs done. We were trying to get new people in, but your subs, you have trusted subs. But if they're overwhelmed, you need another sub, but it's like someone new. You have to test them out. You don't know what their work's going to be like. And so you test someone out and they don't do a good job, and then it reflects on you. And so it's like this balance, this risky balance. And so we were not deep enough with our sub relationships to handle kind of this domino effect that happened to us. And so we then, we just had like one job after another got delayed. And then, of course, clients are never happy about delays. And so our brand kind of took a hit, and it was just a really challenging time to try and like finish out these jobs with integrity, with, communication. But clients are just very, very frustrated because their job has taken couple months longer than they anticipated. And I get it, right? Like I totally get why they would be frustrated. And so we had to make some changes to make sure that doesn't happen again.
That's the restoration component. It's such a very different game, at least based upon other people we've had on the podcast, where it's like, I understand why people specialize specifically in that, or don't do it at all, because it is all the things that you just said are like, yeah, if you're not doing this every day, it's like, how do you work around, only doing a foot of the wall? Not how do you save a countertop? Like, how do you try to match things? Like, this is this is like a puzzle that's in a different language almost. It's like very difficult to solve this problem.
It's very complex too. And you never know what you're going to get. As soon as you open up those walls, we got termites. Okay, pause. We have to go get termite treatment done. There's a bunch of things that you have to do that you don't plan for. And then that's change orders. And that's also frustrating for clients, is to get change orders. It's costing more than they thought it was going to cost. Yeah. So we try to prep them beforehand, saying, hey, there's a high likelihood of change orders that happen. We do our best to estimate it well, but we just never know.
So obviously not in the restoration game, or decided not to do the restoration game anymore. What is and maybe expanding out, what is your, we'll call it buy box, or what is your box that you are really good in? This is it. And when did you really figure that out?
So we've niched into condos now. So we found that we had a lot of success in condos, and they're more nuanced than just houses, right? Because there's elevator schedules. You can only fit so much stuff in an elevator. You can't fit a full slab of countertop in the elevator. So, and then there's like, on Fridays, you have to be done by 3:30 p.m. You cannot work weekends because of the noise and things for clients. So, but what we found was that we can be experts at those buildings and know the ins and outs of the buildings, of how to work within the buildings, and how to really, make sure we're following the rules. And so we're playing nice with the HOAs, with the property managers, and then the clients as well. So we've really figured out how to navigate that, and then, helping clients renovate the condos, because they're in Tampa Bay. There are, there are so many condos that were built in like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s that are ripe for renovation. And a lot of people love to buy condos and have them for part of the year, or it's a very normal thing for New Yorkers to buy a $1 million, $2 million condo in the Bay and be there for half the year. So that's what we really niched into because we are good at that. And that kind of came about as we were trying to like figure out, okay, how do we rebrand? How do we kind of dig out of this hole that we got into? And really all of our condo jobs have gone well. And then we didn't experience the same issues that we did with like the home renovations.
You know, the learning lessons around like what to do or what not to do. What I'm curious also about is when it comes to sort of reputation, what you're really good at creates great reputation. What you're not good at creates really bad reputation, or can create really bad reputation if you don't handle it right. But there's also the people that are sort of working those jobs. Is it different people that you're working with, or is it always the same people, right? Because my belief is that no one's out there to like really do a bad job, right? There's just something that they don't understand or something that goes wrong. When you are working with subcontractors or even your own people, do you feel that they're set up for, in one type of job, they're set up for success, and then another job, they're set up for failure? Or is there something else that's going on?
Yeah, so I agree with you that I think everybody in the trades, in the construction industry, they're all trying to do well, right? I don't know. I'm kind of like Anne Frank, and I just believe people are good. Call that naive. I don't know. Like, have I gotten taken advantage of because of that belief? Yes, but also I think people are inherently good and have good intentions. Let's just say we have good intentions. Now, with quality of work, right? We've had to fire some subs because their quality is not good. We've had to fire some because they are not efficient. Like, they told us it would take a week to do the electrical rough-in, and then it takes them 3 weeks. And so that throws off the whole schedule as well, plus the next job that they were scheduled to work on. And so we have to navigate that. So yeah, like part of is always evolving. So you're always evolving in the construction industry. You're always forming new partnerships, you're finding new subs, you're finding new people to work with, and then forming bonds with them, and then really supporting the ones that you like, basically, that work well with you and your company, and that you want to keep, and you want to continue. But there is a lot of demand for electricians right now. There's a lot of demand for plumbers. And so they are very, very busy. So if you don't treat them right, they're not going to prioritize your job either. And so there's that level of respect that needs to be given kind of both ways, really. Building,
a pool, a stable, essentially of subs is challenging, or trade partners is challenging.
Absolutely.
Have you been able to make a process for that? Like, obviously a lot of people are like, let's try you on a job. Sometimes that's a smaller job than a bigger job, just to get a feel. Is there a true process? Do you have that? Is it more feel? Is it, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So right now we like to try them out on smaller jobs and have them come in and work it. Also, there's like word of mouth too, right? If we find a good plumber, they're probably going to know a really good electrician, or they're probably going to know like a really good framing crew, or, things like that. So it's a matter of, making those connections and talking to people and trying them out. Like I had to get a new glass contractor to do all of our shower glass, and it's just a matter of, called him up, talked to him, tried to interview him, like, okay, let's try you out on a job. So he came, he bid the job, he did the job. And I was like, okay, great. You're great. And so now we've used him on like for the next 7-8 jobs, and he's still been doing fantastic. And so it's just a matter of, testing him out. But again, that's risky for me, like to test out someone on a job, because we tested out a new like cabinet installer, and that was a whole disaster and just was a problem. They did it bad. So yeah, it's just a matter of testing and then sticking with the ones that you feel like are really good and that can be good.
Construction, for many, there are people that go low bid and then change order. There are people that try to be more transparent and saying like, here are actually all the things you're going to look at as you're going into a new partnership and with a trade. Where's that balance? Because it's like trying a smaller job, right? So it's like, I'm trying to, minimize the risk of like the impact this could have if it goes bad. But at the same time, it's like, are you looking for are you in the bucket at which we would have expected this? Are you lower or higher? Are they coming in and saying, hey, we're willing to do this one lower for you because we want to have a long-term relationship? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, we always bid the job. So as a GC, we bid the full job. So we have a line item there we can say on the shower glass example, we have a line item there, budget for our shower glass. And so when they come in and they bid the job, as long as they're within budget of that, then I'm good. But we don't allow change orders for that one specifically, unless when they're there, the client's like, actually, I want a fancier glass, right? So that's fine. Or they want to upgrade the hardware on what we had originally bid, we can do that. But then, when you get your MEPs, then sometimes there's unknown things, right? With remodeling. So we open up a wall. Like we had one example where we were redoing the flooring, and then we noticed that the whole plumbing, like the 3-inch drain, was right in the way of a new footer that we needed to put. So we had to move that whole drain somewhere else, and something you just don't know until you open it up. And so those change orders are okay for me. But, just in terms of, as far as change orders, really, we only do change orders if it's something unforeseen or the client wants to upgrade.
Okay. So then what, obviously you have all this business experience. What got you saying, hey, I need to go share this via Cultivate?
Yeah, well, I've had people come to me a lot over the last couple of years that, just asking for advice, just, hey, like, I noticed you've done this, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Like, I like to share on LinkedIn what I've learned and lessons that I've learned. And so I've had people come to me, and I've had a couple clients, like people hire me to really consult with them. And I was like, that's probably my end game here, is like, I wanted to do really cool, hard things, I kind of have this visual of like, I want to be the one in the forest that's like hacking down the trail so that people behind me can follow. And then I can, turn around and help them on their journey as well. And so, I was like, well, maybe I could like do my own thing and just keep helping people here and there. But when I learned about Cultivate, so Cultivate Advisors, basically it's just a group of us who have all owned, scaled, and sold our businesses and, exited, and are now like turning around and helping other entrepreneurs. Like our motto is life is better with entrepreneurs in it. I don't think I said it right, but something like that. And so we're just really here to help other entrepreneurs in their journey. And it's just been so cool to join an organization where I'm just like, my peers are fellow business owners who have done really cool things. Yeah. And so I can sit with them, hang with them, and then also my clients. So I have several clients now through Cultivate, and it's just really fun to help them and to hear their business challenges and problems. Be like, oh yeah, I'm with you. I've gone through that, or oh, this is a new one. Let's see how we can solve it together. Because we really kind of just roll up our sleeves and just work alongside the business owner. We're kind of like a non-equity partner in their business. We don't take equity, they just pay a flat monthly fee and we can help them. But it's been a really cool experience to like be an advisor. And so that will be my full-time gig once I sell KohlerHaus, and then I'll just be helping other business owners.
Love that.
I love that.
This has been a lot of fun, but we have one final question for you, a question we love to ask all of our guests. So Will, take it away.
Yeah. So if you were to go back 20 years, what advice would you give yourself? What would you tell 20-year younger self?
More kids, because it's more labor, more tax
kids.
benefit.
Right. More tax benefits. That's really not how it works. 20 years ago, well, I was in the middle of having all those kids 20 years ago. I don't know. I would just say have confidence in yourself, because I think I struggled a lot with confidence throughout those years of, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how many times I said that through the last 20 years. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I really just was in this figure it out mode. Like, okay, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm just going to figure it out. And that was really helpful. Right. But then also, I think maybe I would give myself the advice of, like, I'm wired to achieve, but also sometimes that puts me into like very much overwhelm. And because I just bite off more than I can chew all the time. And then I'm like, I'll be okay. I'm fine. I can handle it. I'm strong. But, I'm coming to a point in life where I'm like, maybe I'm not that strong. And maybe we're not supposed to be that strong. And it's okay to rest. And it's okay to, do some things really well, and other things you don't have to do really well. Like, you don't have to be the best at everything you do, right? Like, you can be average at something, and that's okay. And I think that's really what I would tell myself.
Love the insight. Super cool.
This has been a ton of fun. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm active on LinkedIn, so please connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a really great one. You can also reach me through my email at Cultivate Advisors. So it's Camilla, Camilla, at cultivateadvisors.com. And one of the things I would love to offer your listeners is, like, Cultivate has this really cool assessment. So if you want to get an idea of how healthy your business is, we have a health assessment that we can do. And it's also a valuation assessment too, that we can help you understand kind of where you're at with your business and the things that maybe you need to work on. And I'd be happy to, like, jump on a call and review it with you, like just to give you a chance to take a look at your business from a different angle, right? Pull yourself out of the weeds and really look at it from a higher level view. And it's a pretty eye-opening exercise that I've done with many business owners as they've kind of looked through the business. So happy to offer that. So please reach out.
No, that's awesome. And I will second your LinkedIn. Very active and impactful. I love the stories you share. And now I'm a little bit of a LinkedIn-aholic.
Thank you.
But when I see yours, I always read through it because it's always insightful. So good to you. And then our friends at Cultivate, we love. So yeah, I couldn't speak higher of you. Yes, this has been a ton of fun. Listeners, I hope you had just as good of a time as we did. And if you're ever in Texas, you got to look up Camilla to just go have a hang, or get 5 kids to build your house or something.
Right. You can come visit my goats.
Ooh, yes, the goat shack. That's right. The goat hut. Again, this has been great. And until next time, listeners, adios.
Adios.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
keep building scale.
Scale.